Filmmaking gear can get pretty expensive. That's why I'm here to show you 5 filmmaking accessories that are cheap and will definitely stick in your camera bag. Oh, and look who's here to join us. So the first piece of filmmaking gear that I highly recommend and is really cheap is a gray card. Setting your white balance perfectly is very important. And I actually used my Sony body lens kit or lens cap or whatever it's called. Man, she's always interrupting. Yeah, go sleep over there. Go sleep, go sleep. There you go. That. Yep. Man. So as I was saying, I really recommend a gray card. Setting your white balance is very important. The reason I say this is if you set your white balance correctly, your skin tones will always be perfect, your footage will always look correct. But if you leave it on auto white balance, every once in a while you change to a different room, or you're moving around outside, things are gonna change. Your whole film, your whole video is gonna look different throughout and not on purpose. It's not the look you're going for, it's just your white balance is changing. So make sure your white balance is always locked in, and then you can do some color grading and color corrections, and it will make it easier in post as well. So you can find some really cheap gray cards on Amazon. Like I said, I just used the Sony body cover. If you have a Sony body cover, this is like the true gray, the correct gray card. If you set this to your white balance, it'll be perfect every time. Just make sure you set it correctly using this, and your white balance, everything will be perfect every single time, I promise. This is so worth it. I don't see why you wouldn't get something like this because it's so cheap and it actually makes a big difference. The first thing I do when I'm setting up for a shoot or a video or anything, I take this out and I set my white balance using this gray card. So I would highly recommend this. The next thing I would recommend is this magic arm. So this one is a little bit cheaper than some other ones that you might find. I got this small rig one on Amazon, and this is really cool to get these really cool locked off POV shots or interesting angles with your camera. And I think it's very important to get different types of angles, not necessarily just using the magic arm, but having a new creative look on your videos will spice things up every once in a while. What I mean by this is as soon as I got this, I was so excited to try it, and I used it, and instantly it felt like I was such a better filmmaker to other people. When I showed them the clips, they would be like, wow, how did you get this? How did you do this? And honestly, it was just using my brain and using this small rig clamp. So basically what you can do is you can unlock it, you can thread this into your camera, and then you clamp an item and you might set it in front of the camera, get some really cool POV shots, walking around with your phone in your hand, or a pen, or a book, or a product of some sort, or maybe a drink or a food item if you're doing videography for a restaurant or something like that. But yeah, I highly recommend this small rig clamp, and I think it's actually a game changer. I mean, just take a look at some of these clips. They're really fun. They're different, they're unique. And I think, like I said, it will definitely spice up your videos if you use it the right way. All right, guys, so let me tell you a horror story and why I recommend this third item, extra batteries. At the time, my biggest shoot ever. It was for this amateur MMA fighter, and it was a great experience. I had a lot of fun. I rented out gear for this because I wanted it to be really good, and at the time, I didn't have my Sony FX30 and my Sigma lens and all that kind of stuff. All I had was a little Canon M50, and this was a bit more of a professional job. So I rented out some gear, and I didn't think to get an extra battery for whatever reason. And as I'm filming with the Canon R8, which is a great mirrorless camera for the price and for the renting price as well, however, it uses a smaller Canon battery than the Canon R5 or the R6 or those kind of things. So I was very, very particular on how much I was filming. And honestly, I wish I filmed extra, and I couldn't because of the battery life. So I would really recommend getting some extra batteries for your camera. I just have this kit from Newer, and it's 2 extra batteries and also a power bank somehow. It's pretty cool, but nothing crazy. It's just, I think it's a way of being different, and I think it's a pretty cool idea. So I actually just got this, mainly just for the batteries, but it's cool that it's a power bank as well. And actually, it saved me at a wedding one time. My phone was about to die, and I used the power bank to charge it up so I could contact my other videographer, and it worked pretty well. But other than the power bank, having extra batteries is necessary, and I really, really mean this, okay? Make sure you get your hands on some extra batteries. It will change your life, I promise. As of now, I have 3, and I have yet to run through all 3 of them. However, I still don't see why I wouldn't even get maybe 1 more, just to be safe, depending on where I'm traveling to. Maybe I don't have time to charge the other batteries, and I'll need an extra one, so I'll look into it maybe. But yeah, I definitely recommend some extra batteries so you don't end up like me, not shooting enough, or your camera dies when it's really important and your client's like, hey, can we film this last part? And you're like, oh, actually my camera died. Like, imagine saying that. Imagine. Don't be like that. Don't let that happen. Get some extra batteries. My next one might be for you and it might not be, but I'm gonna recommend DaVinci Resolve, the free version. The reason I say this is maybe you already edit on another software, but I guess maybe for color grading or needing a video software that you're not paying for monthly is kind of a big deal, especially when you're smaller like me. And I highly recommend DaVinci Resolve just to start off on the non-paid version, because it has everything something like Premiere would offer except for a couple features, but you're not really going to use that much anyway. You can stabilize your video, you can color grade well, you can have nice text effects, you can have animations, you can use the Fusion page, you can have an audio editing software all for free in one. I would highly recommend checking out DaVinci Resolve, getting your clips in there, testing out the color grading. It really is a big difference. I think it's unreal in today's world that you can get something like DaVinci Resolve for free. I remember back in the day, I was young, I was editing using whatever I could on my phone and laptop at the time, and there was no free software that was really good. And even today's things like CapCut, it's free, it's amazing. Like, get those type of things to start off with before you're paying $60 a month, Premiere Pro and After Effects and having all these things. Like, take a second, think about the financial decision. Yeah, it's cool to buy some cool gear, but if you want to make money with this gear, you got to play it a little smart. And I think DaVinci Resolve would help a lot if you're feeling like the burden of paying a monthly subscription is hurting you a bit. So I would check that out. Honestly, I used to edit on Premiere as well because I had to for school and other things as well prior to that, but I made the full switch to DaVinci Resolve, including color grading, editing in the timeline, exporting, audio, effects, all those kind of things. I just do in DaVinci, it makes my life a lot easier. So go check DaVinci out. Before we get into this next item, my package is here. I'll be right back. So I just got the DJI RS3 and I'm gonna be making a video about that shortly, so stay tuned for that. This is definitely not a cheap piece of gear. So this is not on my list, but I do wanna say, make sure you look out for that video. The next thing I'm including in this list is not this lens, but this dust blower. I really, really, really emphasize when I say this, get one of these no matter what. I don't care what position you're in, pro, beginner, whatever, you need to be able to a way to clean the dust off your lenses and the inside of your sensor and those kind of things, because it can ruin everything for you. And also, I wasn't that smart when I got my first camera. So I got my first camera, got it used, it was in great condition, and I start recording on it, and all of a sudden I noticed these black dots all over my camera in the video. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just spent my whole paycheck as a kid, my whole savings as a kid on a camera straight out of high school, and I thought it was broken. I thought I got ripped off, that's why they were selling it. But no, there was just some dust, and I got one of these the next day, did my research, started, going around inside the sensor, I started cleaning the top of the lenses, just getting in there with it, and finally I was able to record. So I'm gonna make sure that you learn from my mistake and get an air blower and just use this to clean, to take care of your gear, and be smart, all right? Get one of these, please. Also, they're so cheap, it's like less than $10. And I'm linking everything below. If you wanna check out anything, it'll be in the description. You can check out all the prices as well as on screen. All right, so those were 5 items, but I want to throw in some honorable mentions, but it also depends on your situation and what you have already, but I might want to include some tape, maybe some gaff tape, electrical tape, those kind of things. I actually used this the other day on a car shoot to mic up an exhaust, which I've never done before with one of my DJI lab mics. And I used this to tape the back of the car, and we got some really cool audio with it, and I did not expect that. So I'm gonna be carrying more tape from now on for those random situations. So definitely recommend some tape as one of the honorable mentions. And also this cheap camera bag. However, I'm definitely gonna need a new camera bag soon, but this has lasted me since I got my first camera until right now, which is probably almost 2 years or maybe a little more than that now. And I couldn't recommend this Caden bag enough. When I got it, it was 20 bucks. I'm gonna link it below to see what it is, but I still know that they're cheap and it's been great for me. I've had 0 issues. It's really comfortable. There's some cool colors, so definitely go check this out. So after those 2 honorable mentions, that's the end of the video, guys. I really appreciate you. If you're still here watching, please subscribe and leave a comment telling me what video you'd like to see next. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.